President John Mahama, during his media interaction on Tuesday, said universities ought to align their courses to meet demands of the labor market. This, he says, will go a long way in helping address the unemployment situation. Let's take a bite of what went down.
I believe that the public works that we're going to engage in are also going to provide jobs. In the housing sphere, I cut the sort for OAS. If you go there and see the number of masons and carpenters and others working, on those sites, you'll be amazed. If SNIT starts the work with the affordable housing project, we're going to have many more people working there. I recently cut the sort for the expansion of the Tema Harbour. In constructing the expanded harbour, they are recruiting many artisans. And when the harbour has been extended, because of the volumes of ships that are going to come into the port, they're going to require more hands to be able to handle those volumes. And so by the public works that we're engaged in, if we start building the 100 schools, imagine the number of masons and carpenters and other artisans, steel benders and others who will be employed in building these 100 schools this year. So many other public works that we're going to engage in, the regional airports, the district hospitals and all are going to provide avenues for employment. In the natural growth of the economy, jobs are thrown up. If an economy is growing at 7.4%, naturally jobs will be created as a result of that growth. But often when we talk about unemployment, we focus only on graduate unemployment. We're not talking about employment in the informal sector. We almost always focus on graduate unemployment. With graduate unemployment, we have a problem. We have a problem. If you take graduates, the job market is looking for technicians, mechanical engineering, and those kinds of skills. Now we're training a lot of marketing graduates. We're training a lot of business administration graduates. We're training a lot of graduates who are not, by the structure of our economy, are not immediately absorbable. And so it takes some time for them to find jobs. So if we concentrate only on graduates, say graduates are coming out of university, they can't find jobs, then it's to minimize the whole unemployment issue. What we should do is to see how we can align our university programs to suit what the job market is looking for. And so I want us to initiate a discussion on this kind of issue. We must have a job market survey to see what jobs are out there.
Jonathan Osei is Executive Director of POS Foundation. He's joined me in the studio. We'll take his thoughts on the President's, comments on job creation in the country. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with you. A general thoughts on the President's comments as far as unemployment and job creation is concerned. What do you think?
Thank you very much. But to maybe start with, let me say, the President had his day yesterday. He was really in himself. This is because most of the questions that were being asked were not most of them buttressed with statistics and data. So the President did justice to them in the political manner.
Right.
That is not also quoting any statistics and data. So moving from the general view of he doing well in answering the question in a political manner, we want to address it on the youth and employment that he spoke about. Since no statistics were given out, the President, I believe, did not state any statistic. To talk about unemployment in the first place, I want to find out if the President and his cabinet have any data of unemployment in our country. If you want to deal with the problem, you must first start with identifying the problem. Now, we don't even know how many people are unemployed, both the informal and formal sector. So what do you want to do? Now, let's take this, the statement. He has diagnosed the second problem of this particular phase very clearly. The formal and informal. He talked about graduates, and then he mentioned that the kind of people we need are the technical people, which is very perfect. But the question I ask again is, are we looking for the President to retell us what the problem is, or we should look for answers? Because the answers he gave was like a call to the university to come up with courses that will benefit the industry. We lack research as a country. there should be some pragmatic policies and steps by president or by his government or by the Ministry of Education, saying that the president now is saying that I have directed or some sort of think tank meeting.
He said we should look forward to
who should look for
a national discussion and probably
who
a
should
job
look for that national discussion.
Research.
You see, that's why I said we are also trying to share our ideas. For Christ's sake, he is the president of Ghana. We respect and acknowledge him as such. So he should come up with programs. A question has been asked. What do you have to offer? Not you suggesting a program or an activity or a solution to us. So instead of calling the universities, it's good. But this time, you should bring the think tanks together to deliberate and research what is on the job market and what courses can be offered in the universities. Now, let me ask you, if we put up this call and the universities don't take it, what happens? Is his problem going to be resolved? But he is the president. He has command over every activity and every plan. So I am saying that the president's suggestion is good, but it's not enough, and it will not bring any serious impact. If the problem which he perfectly diagnosed could be resolved, then he should direct the ministry and bring some former educational directors and so on and so forth. That's why I use the word think tanks, to research into the job market, the industries, and then liaise with the universities and go ahead.
He's also mentioned the fact that the natural growth of the economy would translate into job creations. He's mentioned the fact that public sector projects would generate jobs in the future as we see it. There will be people who will be needed for the construction of buildings and roads and the likes when it comes to sectoral projects. And then also he made mention of the fact that there's going to be, funding made a startup capital made available for young entrepreneurs to start up and grow their business. There'll be mentoring for them as well. What do you think about this? It's good, isn't it?
My sister, haven't we been in this country where president upon president have given us promises and upon promises and they don't work? We are looking for pragmatic steps, promises that have indications and that could be measured, that what the president or whoever is saying this can be done or can be measured. Number one, when you talk about the employment issue that you talk about, it's a short-term employment. The president has done well. That is short-term. But after the short-term, after the construction, what do you expect those people to do? Where do they go and get jobs to do? So this is just the mere short-term. We are looking into the future. And I think the president is doing well to get at least some kind of work for some people to do for the meantime. But at the end of the day, that is not the ultimate. He is the president. And so when we talk about job, we are looking at the present and the future. And so for that construction and so on and so forth, we pray that it comes to being that people may get something to do. But at the end of the day, what do we get? Now let's get back to the second one.
Startup capital.
Startup capital. Then I ask again, why are we confusing ourselves with youth development and employment? You know why? We have a complete youth policy that is not being implemented. Within the policy, there should be a youth fund in the same way the president is saying, so that it could be, it needs to go to parliament. That fund needs to be set up so that it can be regulated. Then we will know how the inflow and outflow of money is being disbursed or whatever. But here is the case that the president is also saying another thing outside the youth policy. I ask, does this synchronize with the youth policy or is another policy altogether that the president is coming up with? And when you get governance moving that way, you begin to ask yourself, is it then going to be possible?
Beyond putting the think tanks together to try and address the unemployment situation, what steps can we take? After that, then what? They discuss and then what? Let
me tell you, when you leave development only in the hands of government, government is overburdened, and these are the kind of statements that we will receive from governments and people, and because the burden is becoming too much. The burden needs to be shared with people like the private sector and civil society. You know why? Now, when the think tanks have met, the research has been done into industry and then the kind of jobs needed and the courses to be offered. Then we can ask the industry to fund some of these projects. then when they fund it, it is going back to them, because now they will get the right people already trained from the schools, and then they get back to the job and then produce results. That we will be talking. And so if we are not just going to put in the think tanks and let them think, but also going to give some leverage to private sector, to businesses, to be able to finance research in the universities, to be able to support the universities to come up with the requisite personnel that we need, then we'll be making a headway. But if government thinks they can do it all, and that they don't put in pragmatic steps, like I always say, to ensure that these nice ideas that the president was saying get implemented, and they want to do it by themselves or just give a mere call, then I don't think it will work. We need to put our ways into action, and it is not the plan, it is not the policy, it is the tactics and the strategy. The president has given us the idea, but the idea alone can bring us results. I'm talking about the tactics and the strategy, how the president is going to help the universities, aid industries, bring industries and universities together, beef up research, and then put all what we are talking about, all his nice ideas on paper and make it work. That is what we are talking about, and not just mere suggestions and calling.
What role can young people play in the nation's bid to create employment?
I tell you, if a young person finds himself in Ghana and do not have any skill, then that person is also not contributing anything to Ghana, so he has no right to be questioning anything. Because what makes you valuable is what you have. If you don't have, you can give. You only give what you have. So any young person listening to me and who will listen to the president should know that there is hope for the future, but the hope may come only when we have acquired the skills and the kind of requisite training. There are a lot of training all over. When we are able to acquire those training and skills, I know it doesn't come just easy, but after you've attained 18 years, you should be able to find yourself something better to do and contribute to the development of the country.
Jonathan, we'll leave it here for now. And Jonathan Osei Owusu is Executive Director for POS Foundation.